What's up, you guys? Lethal Protector Toy Shiz here, and I'm bringing you yet another Toybiz Spider-Man the Animated Series video. In this case, it's a bit of a Spider-Man the Animated Series spin-off using the Venom characters. This is the Venom Along Came a Spider wave. 4 characters, 4 little spiders as accessories. A very creepy alien wave, but one that just I remember so fondly, and I remember so fondly when seeing it on the Target shelves and being like, what the heck is that? I gotta have that, and pretty much walked out with all of them. So let's get into it. This is the Venom Spider-Man the Animated Series Toybiz spinoff. Along Came a Spider. And while I got you guys here, just want to say thanks so much for checking out my Toybiz Retro Shiz videos. If you like the video, hit the like button, leave a comment, let's talk some toys. Also be sure to subscribe because I got a heck of a lot more Toybiz videos on the way. First up in the wave is, of course, Spider-Carnage. Now, Spider-Carnage was always one of the fan favorites when he appeared in the comic books. Essentially, it's just the Carnage symbiote attached to good old Spider-Man. But it was a great look for the character. The Toybiz figure, unfortunately, even when I was a little kid, I always felt like this figure missed the mark. It is a tad too dark, to be quite honest. It's an odd figure. It's got light piping around, and it's supposed to be where you hold him up to the light source, and he would glow a red. The plastic itself for the red is still a little bit too dark, so it doesn't really work in that sense. However, it does have a really nice head sculpt to him. It's an evil, creepy looking figure. He's got all kinds of the web tendrils running down his legs. The hands, I think, are the best part about the figure. I mean, of course, he even has the gauntlets that he has when he's wearing that particular costume. It's a pre-posed figure. That, I think, is also the big downside. It has such intricate details and sculpting to it. To have it now as an adult, and after playing with it as a kid, you start to see and understand why you love it so much. As much as it's not a fantastic figure, it's still full of nostalgic quality. Now with Spit the Spider, this is quite the creepy crawler. He's got this real fuzzy, creepy hair to it. This was always like the best part for these types of spiders. The face sculpt is a lot of fun. You know, it kind of reminds you of like the real Ghostbuster ghosts almost to a certain extent. He's got these little hands, but the pincers, you grab this little backside right here, you can hold on to his legs, and he would do the pincer walk. Now he has this clip right here, and what you would do is the play feature to a certain extent would be to snap onto the back of Spider-Carnage. I mean, you could do it every which way that you wanted to, but you could put his hands up just like that, and then move Spit the Spider's tendrils. So it would kind of evoke all the tendrils and protrusions that Spider-Carnage or Carnage could make with his body. And overall, it's a creepy looking figure just to have this giant spider. And when playing with the other figures, you could have it to where he would ensnare a Spider-Man figure, really hold on to him, grapple him. So you have the old Toybiz Spider-Man with the Spider-Carnage. You put them together, you got old Spider-Carnage here. And it was quite fantastic to finally see him on the animated series.
Hey, I wondered when you turned up again. Dear clone.
Man, that was a blast. Catch the last 2 episodes of the actual animated series. It is awesome. Up next is She-Venom, aka the Bride of Venom. She wasn't actually called She-Venom on the back of the packaging. She is an interesting Venom because she's a female version of the classic character. Eddie Brock's ex-wife, Anne Wang. If you saw the Venom movie, you would know that she was in the actual flick, and she actually showed up for a split second. You pretty much looking exactly like this. It was very, very cool to see her. This is one of those cases where it would have been nice to have an extra head portrait to the figure, just because I would have liked to have seen this most of all, as opposed to a transformation head. The sculpt in the paint is actually pretty interesting. She is pre-posed in this. She has some articulation at the arms and at the wrists. Nothing at the waist, at the hips, and at the thighs, but nothing else really moves on her. And fun fact to me, I guess, is that I was kind of looking at her in the light, just so happened to notice that she has a really interesting blue tinge to her that I never ever noticed before. It's actually very, very slight, but the light picks it up. Really interesting sculpting on her legs. It almost resembles fishnets from far away, but it makes that goopy sort of she's being overtaken by the symbiote. So that's pretty cool. And it has little tiny intricate details all along her arms, forearms, hands. Nothing really in this area except for paint. And then it has, like, on the sides that blue tinge that I was talking about. And the spider actually ends. It doesn't go all the way around. For a She-Venom figure, it's a very cool figure to have, and not one that they've often repeated, to be honest. Now, she did come with Vile the Spider. Just a fun fact about old Toy Shiz, I have a very big fear about spiders. I don't like them at all. But I like creepy, crawly, interesting figures like this. Vile the Spider, much like Spit the Spider, has that very furry body to it. And it has an action feature where you would push down on this button right here and it would do a more pincery moves to it. Not the greatest. Spit the Spider had a little bit more going on, but this, you know, he looks like he's trying. And then much like Spit, he has the clips right here. Just in terms of fitting it on her with the legs and everything, it doesn't actually clip onto her back, but you can fit him onto other figures and clip him on in that sense. He's more of just a grabby accessory, something creepy, something just vile that you can play with your other Toy Biz figures. Up now, one of the most interesting Toy Biz figures they've ever produced, the Phage figure, or I guess kind of called the Phage. He was listed as the Phage. He's not Phage from as of one of the orange symbiotes. This is a completely different Phage. Xenophage, Phage, whatever you want to call him, he is a rockin' figure, and just one that is so viciously just unnerving to look at, but oh so satisfying. I picked this guy up at Target. My granny grandma, she actually bought this for me. I remember taking it up to the checkout counter at Target, and the woman said, "What in the heck is this?" And I always remember that being because, really, what am I looking at? Phage is a very, very interesting and well-designed figure, I have to say. The articulation is very simple, but it totally makes up in design. Basically, it's just a bone protrusion monster. The idea with Phage is that it hunted symbiotes to eat them. That was his main course, so of course he goes after Venom. And he was also a shapeshifter. He could morph himself into inanimate objects, which was kind of interesting, but he gets quickly killed. Spoilers, I guess. It really wasn't that interesting, but you are left with a very ugly, very cool character. I loved all the little details, the shading on him. Oh man, this was a great figure. Look at that head sculpt. It went into this very long backbone protrusion that came off his head, and then of course he had the furriness, much like all the spiders. His spider he actually comes with doesn't have the furriness, so he makes up for it himself. He also has, I guess, what he would call like a belt system. I think it was more of just more bones and such that they kind of designed around the character. And then he had all these wild tendrils. These tendrils, for the most part, you could bendy wire. Not all of them have bendy wire. A few of them do. 1, 2, 3, maybe about 3 out of them or something like that. And then with all these weird, just disgusting worm-like tendrils that he has. God, this was a great figure. I'm so happy that I have this guy over so many years. His little spider here is the pincer spider. This thing looked real. It's a very well-painted, well-sculpted spider. Very disturbing, creepy little face to it. It has these wing-looking things on the back where it would clip and pinch and maim its victim. I love this thing. It looks like a little jiggers that you would kind of pull out of your skin. I don't know. This thing disturbs me. I never really liked it. Phage disturbs me. The pincer spider disturbed me. Overall, it's an excellent figure to have, and I highly recommend grabbing him. And lastly, somebody better call H.R. Geiger, because I think we have a full-on Xenomorph ripoff, but in the very best of ways. This is Venom the symbiote, and in so many ways, when Venom is not attached to Eddie Brock, he may actually look like this. In fact, I hope he looks like this. This is such a cool figure to have, so different, such a unique look given to Venom. I absolutely love it. Always one of the best. Probably my favorite one out of this particular wave. Standing at roughly, he comes in at about just under the 7-inch mark. But the best part about him, and let me just pull the camera back for this. Once he would extend his legs, you can see how tall this figure get. And he was basically, yeah, like a xenomorph. So he gets up to about just under the 9-inch mark on this. So I love this thing. This was such a cool figure to have, especially packaged in the actual Toy Biz packaging. Look at the bones, the teeth, everything. One thing that was kind of weird on him, he had these little rabbit ears looking things. Not something that bothered me, but something very unique. I see what they are going for, but it does look like he has little rabbit ears to him. This huge spinal column going all the way down his back, up towards his tail. So awesome. I mean, it evokes the xenomorph through and through. He had these very cool sculpted gauntlets, the fingernails, the hands, so much detail. And this was in an era where Toy Biz was basically kind of competing with McFarlane Toys on these more gross out figures. And it looks to be, they knew exactly what they were doing. They were going to go for a more detailed figure sculpt, and man, they nailed it. I mean, look at the back of the feet, the knees, the legs. Very, very cool. I absolutely adore this toy. This is such a, they wouldn't do this anymore. It wouldn't cost you $6-7, I'll tell you that. This figure getting up to as tall as he is, I mean, just in terms of the articulation, he had it at the arms, nothing at the actual elbows, but he did have it at the wrists. The head was a bit on a ball joint. It could look down, it could look up, twist side to side, but not a whole lot of range of movement. It almost reminds me of the Max, if you guys remember that comic book. Very, very much in the protrusions and the legs especially. He had a single joints, but it knees, and then one at the calf, which is very interesting. But other than that, just a basic articulation at the hips and rotation at the tail. You could go it every which way. Such an amazing figure to have. Very interesting take on Venom. Very interesting action figure to have. Stands really well. You can get him in all kinds of different poses. He's going to attack Spider-Man, tear him open. Heck, even go after Eddie Brock. Who knows? Little accessory, the Ripper Spider had a really nice sculpt to it as well. Very creepy, loose little floppy legs that you could pull out, play with. This spider, of course, had the furriness on it again. Very fluffy. I like the paint and everything on it. Nice splashed with black. The gums to the actual pincers, and then these really nice antennae. It's a very cool figure, and the gimmick was you would pull back on his abdomen and his legs would kind of move to and fro. One thing he did have was this slot right here. You could affix this part to the Venom figure if you wanted to. It didn't exactly stay, but it was one of those things where it was an added play feature if you wanted to do so. So that is going to be my look at the entirety of the Spider-Man the Animated Series spin-off wave Venom, Along Came a Spider by Toy Biz. 4 amazing figures, 4 very unique sculpts. Now, they did actually do another version of Venom the Symbiote. It was more of a red to black version as opposed to a red and white sort of deal. Not really different at all in terms of the actual figure, but just the paint scheme was a little bit different. Later on in the line, they did release another Spider-Carnage as part of an exclusive box set as well. Never again did we see Phage or She-Venom, but hey, you know what? If you got these figures, you know quite well that these are amazing. So, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I have a lot more Toy Biz figures on the way. Coming up, we're going to do Spider-Man the Animated Series waves 4 through 7, and then get into the really, really obscure type stuff. I actually can't wait for that. So I'm going to leave you guys with that. As always, drink some great coffee, eat some great food, but most importantly, put a frickin' bell on that symbiote, because once it gets loose, you're going to have a heck of a time finding it. And when you do, let me know what you found. I'll talk to you guys soon. Adios.